Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so very happy to see everyone here. We are underway for the actual kickoff for this FOLA festival. This is our 2021 FOLA festival, the inaugural event. And let's see, this is titled Ekphrastic Poetry. What do you see? This is the first of four, and FOLA stands for Festival of Literary Arts. It is presented by the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council and through the Office of the Poet Laureate. Today's event, a free virtual intergenerational poetry workshop, is presented in partnership with the Prince George's County Memorial Library System, Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning Commission, and the Nora Brown Foundation. My name is Sister Joy, and I am the Poet Laureate of Prince George's County, Maryland. Thank you to everybody who has joined us for today's event. I'm honored that to present this event and doubly honored to introduce my co-facilitator, Ann Harding Woodworth. Now, before I get into the workshop, excuse me, I think it's only right that I let you know a little bit about our co-facilitator. Ann Harding Woodworth is the author of seven books of poetry and 4 chapbooks. Her 7th book, Trouble, it was published in 2020, November of 2020. Ann feels that poetry has no limits. Hers investigates everything from nature to the psyche to gun control to game of soccer and more. An excerpt from her book, The Last Gun, won the COG Poetry Award, judged by A. Van Jordan, and was subsequently animated. She is particularly interested in writing in combination with other arts, such as fine art, dance, and music. And she always enjoys writing of all sorts of poetic forms. Before we get into the actual workshop, let me say, Ann, welcome, and thank you so very much for being with us today.
Joy, it's a great pleasure to be here today. I can't wait. I love writing about art and I love seeing art. And we're going to see some really good art today.
Absolutely. I totally agree. We are. Now, let's see. Before we go any further, we do have members of the Prince George's Community College Reflections Literary Team who will be participating in this ekphrastic poetry workshop. I'm hoping that I can get Miss Sabrina Nash of the Prince George's Community College faculty. She's one of the advisors who will give us a brief introduction of the Reflections Literary Team. Sabrina, are you there?
Hi, Sister Joy. I am on the line today and so happy and blessed to be here with you all. As Sister Joy stated, my name is Sabrina Nash, and I'm the faculty advisor for the Reflections Literary and Arts magazine at Prince George's Community College. The Reflections Literary and Arts magazine is a staple at the college, having been around for about 25 to 30 years. It gives students, faculty, staff, and community members the opportunity to showcase their poetry, stories, art, ideas, thoughts, talents. Our publication is a safe space with a welcoming vibe. And on the line, I have about, I believe, 8 to 10 members of the Reflections team that were able to join us here today. So we're looking forward to engaging with all of you and looking at looking at the work and coming up with poetry that speaks to what we feel or what we get today. So thank you for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. We're always thrilled when we have intergenerational events, and having the teens with us today assures us of that opportunity. Now, some are not familiar with ekphrastic poetry. So in keeping with what we always strive to do through the Office of the Poet Laureate, we're going to give an overview of what ekphrastic poetry is. And then, of course, we will workshop and create some ekphrastic poetry that the teens will then share what they created during this time. I'm going to share a little bit about it, and then I'm going to ask my co-facilitator, Ann Harding Woodworth, if she would do likewise. I'll start with simply the basics. Ekphrastic poetry, ekphrastic means description in Greek. An ekphrastic poem is a vivid description of a scene, or more commonly, a work of art. Through the imaginative act of narrating and reflecting on the action of a painting or sculpture, the poet may amplify its and expand its meaning. An ekphrastic poem is based on a work of art, usually about the painting, as we said, but also can be based on a sculpture, an object, or even architecture. Usually the poet describes some work of art and may extend through their own thoughts the work's underlying story or significance. So you don't just look and describe what you see. You want to delve into that piece of work and see where it takes you. So your work of art, your ekphrastic poem may be based on something that you see, but then what did that translate into you personally? And that's the beauty of ekphrastic art. Everyone comes to art with their own experience. So although the image may be of one thing, it may trigger something in the beholder. You know how they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So ekphrastic art does not just describe literally what you see on the page or in the image that you're writing about. It reflects what's inside the poet. So we're going to stop there. I have an example of, well, why don't I ask if our IT guru and Josh Reynolds is behind the scenes making all of this wonderful experience happen. But Josh, can we get the first image of the deer? Can we get that image up for our participants to see as I present this poem, which is titled Suddenly? Motionless, seemingly frozen at the forest edge, foraging, nibbling rather than gorging. Food is no longer plentiful here. I appeared just before noon, a time foreign to my normal feeding hour, but man has encroached and laid claim to my domain. So here I stand, alert, poised, ears perked in search of the slightest noise. It could mean danger. Strangers in these woods means trouble. A twig snaps. Instantly I react, make tracks, silent and swift. Fast as lightning striking at dawn, you blink and suddenly I'm gone. So that is an ekphrastic poem that I wrote as a result of capturing a photograph of a deer standing at the edge of the forest. I was thrilled to be able to capture that moment, and doubly thrilled to be able to conceptualize beyond what was literally in the photograph. And that's where ekphrastic poetry comes in. It's not just that I'm going to describe the deer and the woods or the forest. I'm going to bring the reader or listener into what that image meant to me. So that's my introduction of ekphrastic poetry. And at this point, I'm going to ask my co-facilitator, Ann Harding Woodworth, And what would you care to offer by way of instruction and introduction to our participants on ekphrastic poetry?
Well, that was a perfect introduction. And that poem about the deer is just wonderful. The fact that you actually went into the voice of the deer itself, and that makes a big difference. And
As
you,
persona.
yeah, persona poem. And you used the word frozen in the beginning. And it's interesting about, I see art is a way of stopping time, of freezing time. Because, I mean, you could draw, you could paint a ball on its way across the canvas, but it stops and that's it. It's never going to get any farther than it is. John Keats, who only lived for 26 years back in the 18th, 19th century, wrote a very famous ekphrastic poem called Ode on a Grecian Urn. And in that, he's seeing this urn or a Greek vase mind, and he sees, for instance, pipers playing, and he says, they're going to be playing that song forever because they're stuck in that in there. The leaves on the trees. There's some women sitting under a tree, and those leaves are never going to fall off. That tree will never lose its leaves. There's a man about to kiss a woman, and she's never going to get that kiss. It's just, which means she's going to keep her youth forever, he says. One of my favorite lines from that poem is when you think of the pipers playing the panpipe. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye soft pipes, play on. And they do play on. You have to ask questions when you're going to write an ekphrastic poem. And Sistah Joy touched on this. You have to ask yourself, what time is it? That's the first question to ask for me anyway. What time is it in this painting or sculpture or whatever you're looking at, or photograph? And then we have to ask, do we see a story, which Sistah Joy touched on? Or better yet, do we see a story that has stopped in time at a particular moment where it will be forever? And what is that story? Well, as you, as the beholder, might see something quite different from what the artist saw. Your story may, because as Sistah Joy said, it just gets into you and you see it your way. Do we hear a message from the art itself? In other words, do we really get into the depth of it, which Sistah Joy did in her poem? Something that the art is telling us. I have a ekphrastic poem, which was published in this, I don't know if anybody can, whoops, I guess because I have the, whoops, there. There's a little tiny journal called Ekphrasis, which some years, unfortunately, I think Ekphrasis didn't make it through the pandemic, but they went for many years. There is another journal called the Ekphrastic Review, which is an online journal. But I'd like to read one of my ekphrastic poems from this little journal. And let me get it up here. Let's see if I can share this screen. There we go. This is called Siesta in Tahiti, which is by Paul Gauguin when he was living in Tahiti. He lived there from 1892 to 1894. That was the first time he lived there. He lived there several times. He worked on the painting for a long time and changed several things. For instance, what I call the fruit basket here in the foreground used to be a dog. And you can sort of see a tail and the curve of the dog as it's curling up, you know, when it sits with people. But he changed it and he made it this fruit basket or a shopping bag, and it covers up the dog. And that when you do that in a manuscript, say you erase something and then write something over it, but you can still see some of what was written underneath, that's called palimpsest. So I use that word in the poem I'm about to read to you. Siesta in Tahiti. 4 women on a porch floor are perhaps 3 women and a boy. I will call him a boy. He looks up at something, a blank wall. Is he the child of one of the women, or did he bring the fruit basket for their pleasure? There have been answers to questions. Now, history is forgotten, like the dog lying invisible but present beneath the fruit basket. Such is the fate of palimpsest. I will call it palimpsest. Artist, you were once divinity, a thing hidden, bringing forth and taking away. You embellished a blouse. There is only composition remaining, and colorful, melancholy, languid somnolence, slump, an iron's heat that oppresses in the day. The woman with the white flower behind her ear sees nothing that's hidden, eyes closed. She is smelling a faint presence, and the boy, he sees only the wall, the one I will call blank for you. And that is my take on ekphrastic poetry. Let me see, how do I get out of here, Joshua? Stop share, there it is. There we go.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I think that was a perfect introduction and example. I love your selection of art that you used. And so again, you can see that anything is fair game for ekphrastic poetry. One was a photograph that I took. Another was a very famous piece of art that Anne selected. But now we want to make sure that everybody understands that there will be 2 opportunities to craft very short ekphrastic poems. They don't need to be as long as what we just shared, but we want to make sure that everybody who is with us today has pen and paper at the ready, because we want you to share what you craft or what you begin to craft today. And if you have comments or questions, please do put them in the chat. I'm loving seeing the snap in the chat, and lovely, and yes, wow, very nice. It's always good to have positive feedback that helps us to continue to stay engaged. But now, today, as I said earlier, we have artists with us that are going to present their own art to serve as the inspiration, the muse, as it were, for all of us to create ekphrastic poems. And we're going to start today with our first visual artist. I will introduce Sandra Davis, who has 2 pieces of art with that will be shared, screen shared. And what we're going to do is to put the art up and give you 10 minutes to craft, to be inspired and craft the beginnings or perhaps a complete ekphrastic poem. But this is your opportunity for those that have not done this before. It may seem challenging, but trust me, it's fun once you let your imagination run. That's the thing. Don't be locked in rigidly to what you see on the page. Allow the image to inspire or perhaps awaken in you maybe a memory, or maybe it'll trigger something that is related to the image, but not directly the image itself. However you choose to approach it. So I'm going to now introduce Sandra Davis, and then we will present her works. Now, later in the workshop, Sandra will speak about the works of art, but not until after you have crafted your ekphrastic poems. Okay, so Sandra D. Davis likes to experiment with materials and mediums with a focus on mixed media, utilizing components like acrylics, found paper, newspaper, and magazines, keeping a recycled theme. Her current work is a direct response to issues happening in our country, including present grievances, inequality, and identity of others is a common topic. Issues such as equal pay, health disparity, housing, and education, and the continued assault of men and women of color are all still topics that remain a real concern. Sandra's other focus is on African American life, church, education, and family. So now you know something about Sandra Davis. We're now going to have have Joshua to present the two images by Sandra Davis. And Joshua, is this something that you can present the two side by side so that our participants can select, or are we going to be viewing them? Okay, so yes, I see that there'll be two images, and as participants, you can select which image you wish to write about. And for anybody who is so inspired, please do feel free to write about both separately, because these are two very different images. So we will now have put on the screen the two images by our visual artist, Sandra Davis. And we will have 10 minutes for everybody to craft, or at least begin to craft, your ekphrastic poems, after which we will take some time to hear what you crafted. But we're first going to have those 10 minutes of viewing the art of Sandra Davis. And perhaps we'll have some lovely jazz music to accompany our creative mode. One is titled A Time for Church, and the other is titled Pay Equity. Images by Sandra Davis. Could we have some inspiration music, Joshua? And I'm setting my timer. It should be noted that the chat is not visible when we screen share. Okay, so that's 10 minutes. We are now ready. I hope everybody was inspired by that. It was fun. I don't know if anybody else tried to do two, but I was good to get one. So let's see. First of all, I'm let's see, I'm going to try to get as many participants to share their writings as possible. Um, how about we have Sandra, now that we've all taken a stab at what we were inspired to do? Sandra, could you tell us a little bit about the pieces from your perspective as the creator, as the artist who brought these pieces to life? First of all, thank you so very much for being with us, and thank you for sharing your beautiful, very beautiful artwork.
Well, thank you everybody for having me. This was a unique opportunity to share the work in this way. Not often do we get to hear the responses from those who are viewing the pieces. As the artist, we know what we want to say, but we're not always sure how it's interpreted. So this has been a very unique opportunity for me. So I'll start with the first piece, Time for Church. That piece was done several years ago, and it is sort of a tribute to African American families. We know in a very matriarchal sort of environment, our first introduction to church is usually through our grandma, right? And so we know on Easter Sunday, it's a big deal to get dressed up and you go as a full family unit. Sometimes it's with great grandmother down to your sister. And so that this piece was really in honor of that education, that opportunity for maybe your first leadership role in the children's choir, or maybe as a young person, you were responsible for the smaller kids while the service was being done. So there's a lot of family stories that come out of an African American church environment. And so it was sort of speaking to that particular uh, experience. For myself, I grew up in the Catholic Church, which is completely different from what happens in maybe a Baptist or Methodist church environment. And so there was a little bit of angst that I didn't get that particular experience in my own personal upbringing. But I thought it was important to share what I thought maybe my mom had gone through. She grew up in North Carolina, and her mother and grandmother were very instrumental in her upbringing through the church. So that was the first piece. And then the second piece, pay equity. Uh, we're still dealing here in 2021, despite all of the accomplishments we as women have made. We're more likely to have a graduate degree. We're more likely to be in a more professional environment, not necessarily in what we call the CEO sweet spot, but we've made a lot of strides in our own accomplishments as women. If you notice in the piece, there's three specific nationalities sort of being portrayed. And as an African American woman, we're still last on the totem pole where the pay inequity really is very apparent. So if we know that women make about 82, 83 cents to the dollar to a white male, as an African American female, we're probably making about 63 cents to that dollar. Um, and that really hasn't changed very much over the course of the years. And again, we're the first ones to graduate from college. We're more likely to have a master's or a doctorate degree. We're highly educated. We're head of the household. But yet there's that inequity in pay that we're still struggling with. So that's pretty much the description of the two pieces that I wanted to provide for today. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Absolutely. Well, we have some volunteers already that have put their name in the chat and let us know that they are prepared and would like to share what they crafted during this session. I'm going to start with Brenda Bunting. Brenda, welcome to this workshop on ekphrastic poetry. Thank you so very much for joining us. And what would you share with us today?
Thank you, Sister Joy. It is good to see you as always. And thank you for sharing your art, Sandra. It's beautiful pieces. I dealt with the second one for my poem. And of course, my mug, you probably can't see it, but it says equity.
Equality, equality, yes.
Yeah, equality. I can't read my own stuff. But yeah, this is what I wrote from that. And I didn't title it or anything. My hard computer fingering, it is bleeding, not visible to others. My heart is burning, and I stopped defending myself to faces of white and found myself attacked by faces of black like my own. Are we the sorrowing shadows of stereotypes that call generational poverty to the meal, and we keep eating the bitter bread, smiling through rotting teeth, rising at the same hour as you? So much of what work looks like has been molded into sedentary spaces, trained the same way, educated the same way, with the skill, ingenuity, and energy. Why don't I deserve the same pay?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so very much.
Sure.
You're just a powerhouse always anyway. So
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, that was Brenda Bunting's response to Sandra Davis's wonderful image titled, what's it, Equity, Equal Pay, Equal Pay. Okay, our next person that signed in, and thank you again, Brenda. Okay, next we will hear from Bernardo. Bernardo, what would you share with us?
I would share a piece called The Four.
Please do. Welcome.
Thank you. Four brightly colored figures in the foreground of three windows in between two crosses on the wall. Perhaps to signify the losses of the four little girls from long ago, moving in slow motion, perhaps even seen as standing on their toes, posing as if dancing free from the woes of the world. Four little girls who no longer know the hatred that takes place in this realm, arrayed like angels giving praise in a place serene, a dream within, a scene that could have been, if fate of hate had been surrendered long ago, beneath the cosmic floor, echoes of the four, in a time for church.
Oh my goodness, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Bernardo. So that evoked the images of the four little girls for you. Wonderful, wonderful. I hope you all are holding on to these poems after today and see where they might inspire you to go with different writings as well. Thank you, Bernardo. Okay, our next, we have Ashby. Ashby, welcome to our ekphrastic poetry workshop. What would you share with us today?
The work uses the same title as the artwork, Pay Equity.
Okay.
Feminine work is often underpaid, yet essential. School teachers, social workers, caregivers, secretaries, janitors, therapists. Why is it that essential is the only word you use to describe societal foundational work that keeps society flowing, yet not essential enough to receive a living wage, an essential work that one works 3 separate jobs to put food on the table for the next month? To nurture, to care is a gift, and leaders do not see that gift. Will impact graduate generations and communities and their growth and the support for them. Pay them. Pay them now.
Woo! Power, power, yes. Thank you so very much. And that was Ashby. Thank you, Ashby. Thank you for being with us and thank you for sharing. Yes. Okay, how about Rena?
Hello,
Welcome.
Joy and everybody. Thank you for having us from over this side of the ocean.
Yes, Rena, where are you from? Let everybody know.
Ireland, County Galway on the western coast.
Thank you so much for being here.
Right. Questions. It's on the A Time for Church. Do you dance to church? Are you modeled on summer flowers? Are all your forms derived from tulips? Are you made of glass? Is that how light comes through you? Do you live on point all week or just on Sundays? Would you lose balance if you swapped shoes? Answer, ladies, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rena. Wonderful. Just very delicate, like the imagery. That's your poetry is that way for me often. So thank you very much, Rena. Okay, Brian Franco. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you very much, Sister Joy.
And Brian, can you let us know where you're from? I'm sorry I didn't ask the others before.
Yes, I am from Brunswick, Maine.
Maine, gotcha.
Yes, and this is called Sunday Light. Stained glass windows creating a prismatic rainbow of faith into a room of people in their Sunday best, women wearing dresses of more colors than Joseph's famous coat of many colors, seemingly projected from I'm trying to read my own writing, I'm sorry, projected as the sun shines through the stained glass window. They wear shiny matching shoes and maybe a showy hat. They dress for themselves, they dress for each other, they dress for the Lord. Their dress becomes an expression of faith and a further form of prismatic light.
Thank you very much. Okay. That was Brian Franco from Maine. How about Samantha? Samantha, welcome to our workshop. And what would you share with us this afternoon?
Hello, I will be sharing a poem based on the pay equity art piece.
Okay. And Samantha, could you let us know where you're joining us from?
I am from Maryland.
Maryland, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
3 women stand before me, gazing without falter. I see them in their color, their boundaries, their lives. The women that stand before me, man-made, yet not man. Life of woman cannot be understood without existing as one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Samantha is with the Reflections Literary Team. Thank you so very much, Samantha. Very happy to have you with us. And let's see, we have Jared Duffy. Thank you for joining us. Also, Jared, please welcome and tell us where you're from and what you've decided to share today.
Hi, I'm from Waterford in Ireland, and I responded to the first image, A Time for Church. Now, my background is Irish Catholic, so my piece reflects that. The church I grew up in was a church of dank stone, dust, stained glass, white marble altar, mahogany pews, silver chalices, the devotion of women, the flocking of women to church, the cleaning of the church by women, the admonishing of women by the church. Still they came on bended knee, their lips set in prayer. Were their lives so terrible that this was the only place that felt safe? This place that saw them as corrupters, as unclean. Their litanies of prayers, their prayers of lists of the dead, the ill, the destitute, their wretchedness steeped in prayer, their only weapon prayer. Who listened? Who set these women to rights?
Oh my, powerful, beautiful. Thank you. Speaking such truth. Thank you, Jared Duffy. Oh, I'm so very glad you joined us today. Sandra Davis, I hope you are receiving these reflections on your works. I'm going to, let's see, I think we got everybody who had signed in to do a presentation. Oh, we have another, oh, that's a comment from Deborah Walmer. Deborah, would you care to share a piece before we ask Anne to share if she wrote a piece? Deborah,
I'm a little shy about it. So I'll share it with Sandra later.
Oh dear. Oh.
Okay, I'll share.
Oh,
I'll try to read my
so
writing.
much. Thank you.
So it's on the first piece. And Sandra's a friend of mine, so I kind of know the piece already, but that's okay. Okay. Primped and polished, coiffures affixed, voices harmonizing, dresses flowing, praising on high, clapping, swaying in rhythm. The women, how sweet they sound. Girl in green, her ribbons and bows properly placed, behavior following mother's cue. Sun shining through the colored beams on the ladies in red, purple, and blue, as if the Almighty is powering their virtuous voices.
Wonderful. Now, you would have denied us that beautiful piece. Oh my. Thank you for sharing, Deborah. Thanks so much. Okay. Anne, I'm going to ask, did you craft anything during the 10-minute session or not?
I did, but I'm a little embarrassed about it.
Oh, please. I'm going to share mine, but I'm going to share mine last. So, and then
this is like a confessional poem for me.
Okay, go right ahead.
I haven't been in a church since I was a child, but the happiness and beauty of those three women makes me want to step into their sanctuary, where stained glass windows spread the sun colorfully. That's me, the little one in back. I'm wearing my choir robe. I've got my missal and I'm going to sing in the choir loft. I'm going to sing about words that shine a light, picking up where I left off all those years ago.
Oh my God, thank you. And how beautiful, how very, and Sandra, look what your art inspired. Isn't that phenomenal? Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you. Well, I too spoke on the poem, the church poem, A Time for Church. And if I can read my writing, I wrote, Sunday best shines bright. Dressed in Sunday best, sisters step lively in their finest, from elder to youth, smiles all around. Brunch may come soon. Glance around the room, you'll see community, family. Strong are the ties that bind. In church, you'll find strength and love. But trust me, like at home, more lies behind closed doors and inside hearts. Sunday best shines bright. So those are pieces that were inspired by the beautiful works of Sandra Davis. And it seems that more leans toward sharing A Time for Church. So that was interesting to observe, but I love each and every piece that we heard today. Thank you everyone for sharing. Okay, now we do have, let's see, our second poet for today is Cheryl Foster. And hold up one second, let me make sure that I have, yes, my bio in place for Cheryl. Cheryl Foster is, let's see, I'll just say, shortly after birth, art chose to be Cheryl Foster's close and constant companion, and has always been by her side, providing comfort and distraction. She is a multimedia visual artist whose large-scale public art can be seen in exterior and interior environments across the country. Her materials range from sparkling stained glass to soft oil paintings, and the subject matter always involves everyday people doing everyday things. Imagination and flexibility serve her well as an artist and arts educator. And she can be found knee-deep in color in classrooms throughout the nation, serving as an artist in residence. Well, please welcome Cheryl Foster, and we will now have her two images presented. The two images will be presented for 10 minutes, as was done before for our first visual artist. And I'm going to ask if Joshua can now project the two images that were submitted by Cheryl Foster, after which we will, 10 minutes for writing, after which we will hear from Cheryl. And perhaps some of that lovely music that Josh treated us to earlier. Can we get the two images, or do we need to do one at a time? Okay, we're going to have the second image added. I apologize, that was a technology issue, but there will be a second image posted momentarily. Okay, so now we have both images. Now that we have both images, I will start the clock. We have 10 minutes from now. Okay, we are winding down. We are winding down. So now is the time. If you would please put your name in the chat. If you have a piece that you crafted during our 10-minute interlude and that you would like to share. Let's see. I have information that we want to make sure that everybody, let's see, yeah, shared with information about our artist already. And Cheryl Foster is here and she's going to share a little bit about the two pieces of art. Cheryl, what would you have us to know before we hear the actual poems that were crafted during our interlude? Cheryl Foster.
Hello, everyone. As Sandra said, this is a wonderful opportunity. I do large scale public artwork, so I can go sit and hide as the viewers come by and eavesdrop on their conversations and their reflections on the art pieces. So this is a bonus. I have been doing artwork all of my life. I don't know anything else. I don't enjoy anything else as much. And these two pieces represent not my large scale public artwork, but smaller, more intimate pieces. The first one, Roots. Everyone has a family, either by blood. For many of our young people, family is the gangs that they have joined, or just people who care about you, have your back, watch over you, and people you can count on. So this particular piece is a family, and because I do much of my work in black and white, it called for bright, expressive colors and strong mark making. And it is unusual for me to go with the neon colors, but somehow, I'm not in charge of the medium that I use. I'm not in charge. I just go with what comes out of my hands. And those are the colors that came out of my spirit. And I hope that they have a pleasant look on their face and they are feeling good about where they are as a family. The second piece is unusual for me in that I very rarely do pieces that are this thought-provoking. I very rarely do pieces that are based on social strife. I was around when the first I Am a Man placard in the 50s and the 60s came about. So this is not a new message. Unfortunately, we can't count on this message fading anytime soon. I wanted this piece to be strong, fierce, powerful, punchy, and to give thought to the plight that we're all in. And it's not just Black people. Everyone in the world is somehow affected by all the strife that's going on. I wanted him to speak loudly, and I'm interested in seeing your comments, whether he spoke loudly enough to impress you with his power.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, that is our visual artist, our guest artist, Cheryl Foster. Cheryl, thank you so much for being with us today and for offering your artwork as our muse, our inspirational muse for today's Ekphrastic Poetry Workshop. So we do have several persons who have indicated that they've crafted something based on your art. And we're going to start with Brian. Brian, could you please share what it is that you crafted during this interlude?
Yes, thank you very much, Sister Joy. Grandma's hands seem larger than life as they provide love and nurture and sustenance from a kitchen that will influence love of all future food. These hands are simultaneously wisdom and knitting needles, knitter, purler, twister, creating an Afghan of family and security. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, and Brian, did we find, yeah, you're from Maine, yes. Okay, and let's see, Ashley. Ashley, thank you so much for being with us. And what would you have that you crafted during the interlude? And I don't know that you identified where you are from the first time, so could you let us know?
Again, the name is Ashby. I am from.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Bowie, Maryland.
Yes, Bowie. Okay. And are you one of the Reflections students?
Yes.
Okay. And my apologies for the mispronunciation of your name. I wrote it properly. I just didn't say it right. Thank you. So what do you have for us, Ashby?
The poem that I wrote was inspired by the piece of Tree Roots. Okay. They are not me, but they are with me. We live in the same community. We breathe the same air, enjoy the same sun, admire the same sky, walk the same streets, and want happy lives. They are not me, but there is no difference in that we hold humanity inside our souls. Yes, they have stories and I have mine, and we will share them with each other. We are different trees, but we are in the same forest. We will wilt in the winter and bloom in the spring, and we will live in harmony. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. The strength of growth of life. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let's see. We now have Rena. Rena, what would you offer from your moment of creativity as your ekphrastic poem?
Well, it's very short. And every family, a snapshot taken on arrival at a new life in a new place, sent home when all is possible, just in case.
Oh, wow. Oh, there. Oh, wow. Just that moment, just in case. Thank you for that. I love, sometimes it's the closing line of a poem that totally makes it. And that was truly one of those moments. Thank you so much, Rena. And that's something you do. You do that. That's your trademark. Thank you. Okay, how about Jer Duffy? Jer, what do you have for us as your offering? Did I see the notes incorrectly? I thought that Jer Duffy had indicated she was signing up. Maybe not.
It looks like she was disconnected from the
Oh,
Zoom.
I see. Okay. Well, perhaps she'll make it back. I'm not sure. But let's see. Our next poet is Deborah. Deborah, what would you offer as your ekphrastic creation from this interval?
I have Brilliant from the Roots. Beautiful. I have to say something. The paintings are amazing. I'm also an artist, so like I'm just out of words, really. Okay.
And Deborah, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Germantown, Maryland.
Germantown, Maryland. Gotcha.
Okay. Generations of proud Black folk doting on their babies. Love surrounds. Too bad it cannot protect from the world outside. They hide their fear of police mistaking a toy for a gun. Why must blood be shed? Why must white supremacy continue to rule our land and people?
Thank you, Deborah. Okay. Yes, that image strikes a chord with many of us. Absolutely. And let's see, we have Bernardo. Bernardo, would you care to share what you crafted? I think Bernardo indicates that he wrote something for both pieces.
I did. I had started on working with the first piece, and then when the second piece came, I was pretty much done. So I just took a quick snapshot. The first piece, Roots. In a world displayed with so much flash, pop, sprayed on walls, sideways streets, they stay so close. Protect the boy. A silent alarm, arms wrapped around him, keep him safe from harm. Smiles in a style so innocent, grow up to represent from which you come. Right here, none, baton or gun, can penetrate his heart without leaving marks upon her hands. Nothing can hurt him now, rooted in this love. And the second piece was kind of like a self-descriptive piece, see the mystic magic coming from my hands, the strength that I command, with muscles in my span, I am a man.
Thank you, Bernardo. Okay. Let's see. We now have Brenda Bunting who would like to share a piece. Brenda, what would you care to offer?
I did both. They're very short. So the first one is dealing with a Black family. And I actually titled it Extension. It's very short though. Extending, protected, mother and father resurrected. The energy and excitement of a soul that's new, embraced by parents determined to protect him from cruel.
Wonderful, wonderful. Snap, 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 snaps.
And the second one is the I am a man. What is the threat of my Black son? My Black son is my only one, and he is a man who has the right to walk tall, the right to have the freedom of everyone else, and from time to time give his mother a call. I don't want a call from someone else, from someone armed to tell me bad news. Just know that he is a man and that he is true.
Okay. Thank you, Brenda Bunting. All right. Well, let's see. I think that's all of the participants. I'm going to share a piece and then I'll ask Anne if she'll close out with the final piece for this workshop. I selected the family image and I titled it Roots. Well, the poem, the art piece is titled Roots. And so I started with, where are you from? Such life shining in your eyes, arms of protection, say more even than your smiles. Family means more than fancy titles or finance. What I would give to feel the love you show. But I know it's not for show. It's what holds your loved ones together, keeps them safe, keeps them strong. When things go wrong, as in this world things often do, again, I say to you, where are you from, love? Thank you. And Anne?
Nice, Sister Joy. I wrote on I Am a Man, and I called my poem Atlas. I will trust something favorite to him, my ceramic box with the 6 grains of rice. Rice, the symbol of perfection. He is perfect. I will trust him to keep the rice forever, as he holds up the world forever and moves with the wind.
Okay, thank you so much, Anne. I would like to thank everyone for being with us today. I know we're right at the closing mark, and I just wanted to make sure that we do have all of our points covered before we close out, but we want to make sure that everybody knows that they can be in touch to inquire about future FOLA events by simply contacting me at Sistah Joy, and that's SISTAHJOY at PGAHC.org. And that is something that we want everyone to hopefully be in touch. If you have not yet done so, please register as an artist. And this is for both poets and visual artists. On the Prince George's Arts and Humanities website, and that's pgahc.org. That's one of the resources that we use when we're searching for artists to participate in activities and events. There's no cost involved. It's just an opportunity for us to know that you're out there and to be able to recommend you for when others are searching for artists as well. So again, thank you for the opportunity to hear from you. Now let's see, Cheryl already spoke about her art. Sandra spoke about her art. Could both of them please put their contact information in the chat so that if you have an interest in following these artists, or reaching out to them about their services, please be inclined to do so. We want to support our area artists whenever we can. But thank you again, Cheryl and Sandra. And thank you most definitely to my co-facilitator, Anne Harding Woodworth, for a wonderful experience here today. Our next FOLA event takes place tomorrow, And actually tomorrow there will be 2 FOLA events, one from 1 to 3 p.m., where we're excited that we will have with us the Maryland State Poet Laureate, Grace Cavallari, along with the Youth Poet Laureate of Prince George's County, Sani Cisse, and several of the teen poetry ambassadors of dialect. And this event will be titled Generations Apart, Yet Still Connected. So it'll be a very different type of experience, more of a forum, but we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to express your questions and comments in the chat. And there may be an opportunity to share poetry as well. But it is a forum that engages our teen community, specifically the teens of the dialect of Prince George's County, with the Maryland State Poet Laureate and with the Prince George's community and virtual community at large. It is going to be a quick 2-hour program, but it'll be virtual just like today. And I believe in this, you can register in the same manner and at the same link as you did for today, if you've not already done so. We have an event on Sunday as well, which will take place from 3 to 4:30 p.m. And that will be a totally open mic for poetry and community dialogue. That event will be titled, let's see, Community Check-In and Healing Conversation, very much on the issues of the day. So thank you everybody for being here. Please know that you can click on the 3 dots, the 3 ellipses in the lower right corner to save today's chat. And that way you can reference back having the contact information. Let's see, I don't see the contact information for, oh, I do see them now. There is imagery by Davis is in there. And Cheryl, did you put your contact information in the chat as well? So we want to make sure.
I'm working on it. Andre's straightening me up.
Okay. So yes, we want to make sure everybody knows how to stay in touch with one another. And if you, anybody, if you want to put your contact information in the chat to stay in touch with one another, please do so. I believe, well, I'll put mine in there just in case somebody didn't see it, but let me address it to everybody. Okay, so now everybody knows how to be in touch with me. If you have questions about accessing the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council website, I'll be happy to answer those questions. As a matter of fact, let me put that in there now. That's the website for the Arts Council. And visit the Poet Laureate pages. We have lots of information on there, and it's a resource for you. And we always are looking for new opportunities to share information. So if there's something that you feel should be on there that you don't see on there, please let me know, and we'll see how we can be more responsive to our poetry community. Thank you everyone for being with us today. This concludes the kickoff event for the 2021 FOLA, and we look forward to seeing hopefully some of you at any of the next 3 events, all taking place this weekend. Thank you so much for sharing your time. Thank you most definitely for sharing your poetry, and thank you to our artists for sharing your beautiful and magnificent artwork.
Thank you.
Okay, that closes us out. Thank you, everybody.